everyone. My name is Jerry Liu, Chief Innovation Officer at Gunzilla Games. And today, I will be doing a deep dive in Web3 game mechanics and economies, and the philosophies that we aim to implement at Gunzilla Games for our flagship title, Off the Grid. Now, first, I'd love to share a little bit about my own background and how I got into Web3 gaming. My gaming philosophies were built in parallel with my own personal learnings as I traversed through the game of life. I love stories that showcase the constructionist and constructionist commentaries, and my inspirations come from iconic films such as District 9, Children of Men, and Ghost in the Shell. In gaming, titles such as Nier, The Stanley Parable, and Braid had notable influences on my perspective of game construction and mechanics. And from theory crafting in World of Warcraft, and exploring off angles in Counter-Strike, and also like exploiting input frame bufferings, cancellations in Dark Souls and Elden Ring. I've always had the philosophy that before you can innovate on something, you must thoroughly break it first. I have a background in venture, having managed over $1 billion, and that is focused on helping founders navigate the complex digital nature of their economies. I hold a strong belief that through intricate suite of game mechanics and game theory, multi-billion-dollar economies can be built. And this isn't something that was present in the early Web3 gaming days until I came across an ambitious founder quietly building in the bear market in 2021 with a project he called Gunzilla Games. So about Gunzilla Games and the team. Gunzilla Games actually founded in 2019 by our founders Vlad and Alex, entering into the goal of solving the asset problem for gamers through blockchain technology. What developed from that was actually something much bigger. Now, Gunzilla Games employs over 260 talented individuals across game development and design, blockchain development, narrative story creation, and much more. Our team is currently spread across Frankfurt, London, Kyiv, and Los Angeles. The Gunzilla team is actually composed of the best and brightest visionaries, technical minds, and entrepreneurs to make the project happen. Vlad, our co-founder and CEO, is a serial entrepreneur spanning over a decade in financial services, games, and gaming-related technology companies. Something important to note about Vlad is that he created Plink, the biggest matchmaking app for gamers. As founder, Vlad understands the deep desire of gamers of finding their peers and fellow enthusiasts. We at Gunzilla Games strongly believe that creating an environment that fosters community, collaboration, and cooperation is a key to building a long-lasting and highly playable game. Alex, in the middle. Alex is our co-founder and COO, and previously acted as the CEO of Crytek Kyiv. He's also founded Blackwood Games, the developer of the AAA free-to-play shooter, Warface, which had accumulated over 150 million users and generated over $1 billion in revenue. And finally, we have Neil on the right. We have Neil Blomkamp, our co-founder and chief visionary officer. He is very famous. He's an Oscar-nominated director, screenwriter, producer, and visual effects artist, renowned for blending nature and photorealistic CGI to create immersive and believable sci-fi worlds. His portfolio includes District 9, Elysium, Chappie, and most recently, Gran Turismo, which is currently in the theaters right now. So, let's take a step back and look at the inception of Web3 gaming as a viable vertical in the industry. We saw 2021 represent the dawn of play to earn. And for those who aren't familiar, play to earn emerged on the scene as a new way to approach gaming. And the concept was very, very simple. As you play the game, you earn tokens. And there was very, very low barrier of entry into these kind of games, often requiring players to purchase an expensive NFT or hold enough tokens for gas fees in order to play. Once a player was in, they could farm tokens to their heart's content and make money from their time spent in games. Sounds pretty sweet, right? Play the game, earn money. Now, Play to Earn created new economies and a massive job market for professional gamers, and guilds composed of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of players with the sole purpose of farming tokens from those games. And Play to Earn was now helping people earn a living wage in some countries, and the sheer amount of users in these games was so much more larger than we had ever seen before. However, the ideal of Play to Earn concept was short-lived and suffered one of the most dramatic collapses that we've seen in recent years. The challenge was simple. With no opportunity cost and low barrier of entry, guilds and farmers took over the games and effectively sold the project into the ground, killing their ability to maintain the projects in the long term. Eventually, liquidity dried up. And so what we learned from the Play to Earn era is that the danger of hyperinflationary economy structures, which requires a constant inflow of new users and liquidity to offset the massive inflation, and the unsustainable growth targets created in such systems. And so there's a couple of things that we took away from the Play to Earn era. Web3 gamers, firstly, Web3 gamer brains have been rewired into care more about money than fun. And secondly, Web3 gaming is in desperate need of a AAA title. And lastly, hyperinflationary mechanisms are unsustainable and bad for players, retail users, and investors. So, in the first point, Web3 gamers' minds have been rewired. So let's dig into the case study conducted on imposing fines on parents that were actually more than 10 minutes late in picking up their children from school. Before the fines were, in this experiment, before we started using the fines imposing the fines on the parents, there were only a few parents that would show up late each day. And some assumptions that before this experiment were that actually once these fines were enforced, that more parents would actually begin showing up on time. However, the results were actually quite the opposite. After the fines began, parents began showing up in larger numbers than before. And initially, this came as a shock to us. Because when observed very, very carefully, the result became very obvious. Instead of the focal point being on the responsibility of parenthood showing up on time for their children, they were now swapping their time for money and removing the intrinsic importance of picking up their children on time. And this is exactly what happened to Web3 gaming post Play to Earn boom. Web3 gamers have been bound to the concept of swapping time and effort for money, but now we have an opportunity to go just beyond this. We know that it would be difficult to undo the rewiring that's been done in these children's brains and in all of these players, all of our children. And our core belief is actually to fix this by rewarding quality gameplay and skillful play and delivering game economies that encourage players to fully invest themselves into the world. And this is why we think Off the Grid will transform the entire gaming industry. In terms of on hyperinflationary mechanisms, Play to Earn actually emerged as a child of the 2021 bull cycle, where the environment was we had an environment where disposable income was arguably at global all-time high, and money supply was abundant in the market. And this environment represented the perfect conditions for hyperinflationary mechanisms to be introduced to the mix. The challenge is the moment that the market enters into uncertainty, or if money supply actually dries up, that these mechanics are actually no longer able to sustain, and the lack of new participants to maintain exit liquidity became necessary for the players and guilds to actually keep playing and earning. And so this sort of mechanism is also why we saw so many token charts that the prices of these tokens pump so significantly and slowly bleed out over time. So many Play to Earn projects were actually able to create a minimal viable product, an MVP, but due to the lack of token rewards actually being sustainable, the vast majority of them actually suffered a depletion of users due to the rewards no longer being able to be worth the time that was being played, and the poor token performance leading to a lack of runway then to continue the development process. In other words, a downward death spiral in a lot of these economies. And so since the beginning of Gunzilla Games, our exploration into blockchain design, we've always maintained the perspective that at all costs, hyperinflationary mechanisms must be avoided. And the focus would be on creating a robust, sustainable token economy to ensure that all of our participant types, whether they are players, they are holders, stakers, or investors, are not not subject to the risk of these systems, these fragile systems. And we're big believers in velocity sinks. And for those who are unfamiliar with the mechanism, that these are designed to encourage users to spend, trade, to lock, and to use tokens within the platform instead of the only option possible presented, which is actually to sell. And then, and finally, Web3 games are in desperate need of a AAA title. A AAA title in Web3 will solve several key critical issues. We know that we don't want any more gamers to have their brains rewired to focus only on earning over fun. And we know that there is a massive population of Web2 gamers that have no understanding of how to access Web3 games, especially because that this has never been a Web3 game on a tier 1 gaming platform or consoles, for example. So the focus used to be only on money because there weren't any good games, and that's no longer the case. So I'm proud to present to all of you Off the Grid by Gunzilla Games.
Two kids on top of the building. I'm gonna snipe him, 1 second. 1 dead. 2 dead. In front of me. 3 dead. Dead. In the bush. Dead. Wait, shooting me. On the building. I shot his leg. Jetpacking down, I think. He's going to your left. Shooting him. Dead. I'm coming. Good stuff, boys. And Rose didn't even get touched. That's what I'm talking about. No? Okay, let's go.
Okay. So robotic limbs, espionage, and space elevators. Off the Grid is a AAA next-gen battle royale extraction shooter, positioned to be the first ever blockchain-integrated game to be listed on PlayStation 5 and Xbox stores. The genius behind it is that the Web2 players wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That the Off the Grid actually utilizes Web3 gaming mechanics, like our NFT assets and marketplaces, unless they decide to venture further into the secondary markets or explore the Web3 side of things. So I know we're running short on time, so I'm just going to introduce a couple more concepts. That there are actually 2 types of games here. One concept is a finite game, and the other one is an infinite game. A finite game is actually played for the purpose of ending a game by winning, and that an infinite game's purpose is actually to continue to play at all costs, changing the rules if you need to be. And so there can be many infinite games within finite games, and many finite games within infinite games, and there are no infinite game unless the player freely chooses to play it. And only one contestant can win a finite game, unless the others, but the other ones can be ranked, which is an infinite game. The best infinite game is one that inspires users to participate and continue to play the infinite games that exist within its framework. And this is our goal at Gunzilla Games, to make playing Off the Grid the most fulfilling experience for our users, and to deliver a set of rules and mechanics that have players wanting to come back and hone their skills in the infinite game of staying at the very, very top of the leaderboards. Gamers can continuously train, experiment, and collaborate, and improve infinitely with a diverse set of character arrangements. Our infinite game is to keep building and bringing in new exciting ideas and features, updates, yet to see components that will keep our players coming back for more. And surprise is a cause for infinite games to continue. And we feel confident that with announcements, integrations, updates, and new titles in the pipeline, that we can keep our users engaging with us for years to come. And so I guess innovative games often spark emergent behaviors amongst gamers by providing unique and dynamic environments that encourage the exploration and experimentation. And in the way that we design games, with its novel mechanics and open-ended design, we inspire players to think creatively and adapt to new challenges in ways not predetermined by the game's developers. Whether it's through complex physics, systems, or advanced interactions with narratives, Off the Grid will hopefully foster a fertile ground for the unexpected player interactions and solutions. As gamers engage with these immersive worlds, they collaborate, compete, and devise strategies that can be transcended beyond the original intent of the game designers, leading to emergent behaviors that continue to refine and redefine the gaming experience and push the boundaries of what is possible within the virtual realms. And so I'd like to thank everybody for joining me in this discussion about our markets and core philosophies. And I would love to chat with anybody who would want to do a deeper dive into a lot of the stuff that we're building. And so you can find me and my team at the Gunzilla booth throughout today and the coming days. Or you can find me online at Twitter at 0xmetabo. Thank you.